Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Peel Regional Police Headquarters. We would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather today as part of the treaty lands of the Mississauga of the Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous peoples have inhabited and cared for this land and continue to do so today. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabeg, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe, and Chippewa peoples, the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are grateful to have this opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. I would like to welcome back Minister Jones and her team from the Ministry of the Solicitor General. Minister Prab Sakaria, thank you so much for joining us too. We are grateful that you have chosen to announce the Community Safety and Policing Grant Program here at Peel Police Headquarters in Mississauga. We are thrilled about the other announcement you'll be making in order to keep our community and residents safer, and that'll be spoken to by Deputy Chief Nick Milanovic. Peel Regional Police is Ontario's second largest municipal police agency in Ontario, serving close to 1.4 million population in the cities of Brampton and Mississauga. In 2020, Peel Regional Police adopted alongside the region of Peel a community safety and well-being plan that frames up how we serve in collaboration with our partners, the community. We have also taken many steps to adopt community safety well-being, as we call CSWB, as a new philosophy of policing based on the idea that it is more effective to work further upstream to proactively identify and address community needs instead of focusing on traditionally downstream symptoms. It also recognizes that police are increasingly called to situations that have less to do with crime and public emergencies and more to do with complex social needs. CSWB is about how police and a wide range of service providers work together to ensure that the people in need of help are connected to the right services at the right time. The partnership with community partners and social service agencies has been instrumental, and we are grateful to all our partners who have embarked on this journey with us, and some who are joining us here today. Thank you for joining us. As you'll be hearing from Sharon Main Devine shortly, who will speak about our collaboration with Safe Centre of Peel, which our Intimate Partner Violence Unit is an on-site partner of, I want to thank also our Community Safety Wellbeing Bureau for Peel Police, led by Deputy Chief Mark DePatt, Inspector Jody Dawson, and our manager John Versluis, as well as Inspector Lisa Hewison, who leads the Peel Police Intimate Partner Violence Unit, our Director of Corporate Strategy Rob Maroney, and consultant from Information Technology Josh Johnson, for their tireless work and commitment in putting an incredible community safety and policing grant proposal together. The CSP grant funding through Project Care and Aegis will better position Peel Police over the coming years to develop and deliver a vision of community safety well-being and align with our mission and priorities. It will also enable us and the community to work with our divisional mobilization team that's been doing amazing proactive engagement in our community with individuals who need community supports and a focus on those for issues such as homelessness, food insecurity, mental health and addiction, and other challenges that are socially based. I want to recognize those members that are here joining us today, as well as the frontline men and women who serve this community 24/7. The CSP funding will also allow us to pilot a new complex care response team, which will pair an officer with a social worker to be the first responders to nonviolent intimate partner disputes and get them and their families the supports they need to address the concerns that put them at risk of violence. This is very similar to our mobile crisis rapid response teams who respond to individuals experiencing acute mental health or addiction crisis and provides them the immediate access to a trained mental health professional. I also want to thank Minister Jones for the Victim Support Grant that was announced last week. This funding also allowed us to hire 2 additional crisis counselors at the Safe Centre of Peel and strengthen wraparound care for survivors of intimate partner violence and human trafficking. It will also support specialized human trafficking training for every one of our uniform and investigative officers here at Peel Regional Police, which is a first of its kind training here in Canada. Our vision and mission for Peel Regional Police to be the most inclusive, innovative, and progressive police organization in Canada, Ontario, and globally is a reality. I want to thank all of our members who work tirelessly towards our mission, again, especially our frontline civilian and sworn members. I want to thank the Ontario government for supporting us to better serve our incredible Peel community. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Minister Sylvia Jones to the podium. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and it's such a pleasure to be here in Peel Region with my friend and colleague Prabmeet Singh Sakaria. You know, I don't know if you realize this, but as the president of the Treasury Board, everybody has to be nice to Prab, but I really have to be nice to Prab because I sit on the Treasury Board with him, so it's great to be in your community. You know, under the leadership of Chief Jayappa, the Peel Regional Police Service, I really want to thank the frontline officers who are doing exceptional work, but you're not doing it alone. You're doing it because you have partners in the community who want to work proactively with you. So thank you for that important collaboration. Community safety is a top priority for Premier Ford and for our government. Since being elected in 2018, we've been strengthening our justice system to protect communities and hold offenders accountable. Whether combating the opioid crisis, sharing intelligence, or preventing violent crime, we have made it a priority to support police services to address local priorities as you have identified through your community safety and well-being plans. Today, I am pleased to announce that through the Redeveloped Community Safety and Policing Grant Program, we are investing over $267 million over 3 years in 147 community safety initiatives across 90 police services. These projects were identified by police services as priorities in their community. Funding will be distributed in two streams. The first being the local priorities stream, totaling $225 million. This will fund priorities like sharing police intelligence, expanding mental health supports, preventing crime in schools, combating bullying, sexual violence, human trafficking, and cybercrime, enhancing road safety, and acquiring new technology. Through the provincial priority stream, 46 projects will receive funding to combat province-wide priorities that include gun and gang violence, sexual violence and harassment, human trafficking, mental health and addictions, and hate-motivated crimes. Many initiatives will be joint projects with local partners, including community organizations and agencies. Here in Peel Region, the Peel Regional Police Service, as well as the Caledon Detachment of the Ontario Provincial Police, will receive $23.8 million for 3 projects. Those 3 projects are Project CARE to support and expand the service's intimate partner violence unit, Project Aegis, which, among other things, will create an analytics bureau to gather centralized data and ensure policing programs are achieving their desired outcomes, and Caledon OPP will receive funding to enhance its traffic enforcement unit and community street crime unit with additional frontline officers. Crimes can be deeply connected, with human trafficking and sexual violence fueling other criminal activities like gun smuggling and gang violence. So, I am pleased to share that Premier Ford and our government will also invest an additional $1.5 million over 3 years in the Peel Regional Police Service's Guns and Gang Strategy. With this investment, Ontario will have invested $188.5 million to combat gun and gang violence across Ontario since 2018. Local police know best what they need to combat crime in your communities, and these priorities have been highlighted in the Region of Peel's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. Together, the investment announced today highlights the confidence our government has in your ability to keep your communities safe. In this spirit, I would like to now welcome to the podium Deputy Chief of the Peel Regional Police, Nick Mavelange.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Minister. I would like to echo the Chief's comments and thank you for choosing Peel Regional Police's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for the CSP Community Safety Policing Grant. The additional funding to support our work in the area of guns and gangs, IPV, and human trafficking. I am really pleased to join my colleagues and our community partners today to reiterate how thankful we are to be receiving this support. The Peel Regional Police is committed to community safety and well-being, and we are operationalizing it into our service's vision, mission, and principles. Enforcement alone is not enough. We recognize the needs to be coupled, that enforcement has to be coupled with proactive outreach, engagement, and connectivity to social services for those in challenging circumstances like addictions, homelessness, or even health challenges within the household. This is why the funding from our Community Safety and Policing Grant is so critical. It will enhance our services' ability to support those who are the most vulnerable in our community and fundamentally fill the gap between individuals and the help they need. The funding will also support the enhancement of our analytic capabilities, allowing us to better capture and catalog vast amounts of data, provide deeper and more efficient analysis of what's occurring in our communities, and be further responsive and transformational in our ability to help address community safety and well-being. Intimate partner violence and human trafficking is another major concern in our region and in the GTA. The establishment of complex care response teams will be among the first in Ontario. Our intimate partner violence unit officers deal with social workers, or will pair with social workers, who will be responding to intimate partner disputes, non-violent ones. This is a critical opportunity to easily provide women, survivors, and their families access to the help they need, prevent further trauma and violence, or even femicide. The funding from the Victim Support Grant will allow us to implement training on human trafficking for every frontline and operational officer in our police service. Again, this will be a first of its kind in Ontario, and officers will be better equipped to recognize and respond to the signs of human trafficking and save lives. The grant will enhance the wraparound supports that the Safe Centre of Peel will be able to provide to survivors with the addition of 2 counselors. While the work of our Community Safety and Wellbeing Framework has been critical and impactful, we also recognize that the trafficking of illegal guns and gun violence across the GTA is concerning. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. One death due to gun violence is one death too many. Our job as police officers is first and foremost to protect the safety and well-being of our communities and prevent crime. We are continuously developing new strategies and programs to prevent gun and gang violence, while disrupting the trafficking of illegal firearms, illicit drugs, and human trafficking across Peel. We will continue to work with our community partners to develop preventative strategies, measures for at-risk youth who may be engaged in this type of activity or at risk of engaging, and ultimately do everything we can to stop gun and gang violence and activity within our region. And anyone who jeopardizes the safety of our residents or our community or the work we are doing with our youth will be held accountable. I know keeping our streets safe and gun-free is a priority for both the Ontario and federal governments. And I want to personally, and in conjunction with our service and our chief, thank the minister for her advocacy in securing $1.5 million over the next 3 years so that we can continue to dedicate the resources and officers needed to help support and address this issue. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words here today. I would like to invite Inspector Hewison, who leads our Crimes Against Person unit and one of the largest intimate partner violence units in Canada, to share a few words about intimate partner violence and our partnership with Safe Centre of Peel. And I would also like to thank Sharon Devine from the Safe Centre of Peel for being here today as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Minister, Chief, and Deputy, and having me the opportunity to share a few comments and remarks. As many of you are aware, our community we serve in Peel is not immune to intimate partner and domestic violence or human trafficking. Consistently, one of our top calls for service for PRP is for intimate partner disputes. That is why our CSWB framework and the prioritization of IPV is so important. This allows us to proactively work with our community partners and to provide supports and services for those at risk of intimate partner violence, particularly to women who are often the victims and survivors. In 2021, Peel Police's Intimate Partner Violence Unit became a partner at the Safe Centre of Peel to ensure survivors' well-being and care are at the core of our service delivery. Our partnership at the Safe Centre is based on the Family Justice Centre model, which responds to the complex needs of IPV through integrated and innovative approaches. This includes a single intake assessment at the centre that all partners use to provide services, so victims only have to tell their stories once. Also, survivors interact with officers in plain clothing and are outside of a police station. And most importantly, they'll have access to all the wraparound supports and services, such as legal aid, child welfare, housing, health, and much more, without necessarily needing to file a police report, as it is their choice. We're trying to make it easier for survivors to break out of the cycle of trauma and know there is a way of leaving intimate partner and domestic abuse situations. That is why the funding through the Community Safety and Policing Grant, along with the Victim Support Grant, is so critical to supporting this work. And I sincerely want to thank the Minister and Government for all their support, as it will truly make a difference for survivors. The ability to have a social worker alongside an officer through the complex case response teams will provide greater efficiency and support for women to find help and prevent greater risk of violence and femicide. One of the constant constraints for the Safe Centre is not enough resources to meet the demands and referrals. The Victim Support Grant will now allow for the hires of 2 additional 24-hour counselors, which would better meet the needs. And the ability for our officers to have specialized human trafficking training will help identify more survivors and get them help. Our mission is to allow more women in abusive circumstances to get help and become survivors. And I'm so proud of the partnership that we've been able to establish with the Safe Centre of Peel in order to do this work. Now I'd like to introduce Sharon Devine, the Executive Director of Catholic Family Services and the Safe Centre of Peel, to speak more about the work that we're doing through CSWB and IPV. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is such an honor for me to be here today representing so many of our community service providers today. We're so proud of the work that we've been doing at both the Safe Centre of Peel, which is located at the Honourable William G. Davis Centre for Families. And I'm just looking around here and I'm seeing so many of my partners that are a part of this project at the Davis Centre and at the Safe Centre to really provide responsive care to the people who come to see us. So often when a victim of intimate partner violence or human trafficking come to our attention, they're overwhelmed. They don't know the system. They need us to come together to care for them. And that's what we've been doing at the SAFE Centre and at the Davis Centre for the last 10 years. Peel Regional Police has been a very important partner for us, standing right alongside all of our other partners, Victim Services of Peel. And just looking around at my colleagues, Trillium Health Partners. We've got Elizabeth Fry, Peel Addiction Referral Center. We've got Our Place Peel Youth Shelter. So many of my colleagues who aren't here, Peel Children's Aid Society. We have Catholic Cross Cultural Services, our settlement partners. All of these partners come together to provide responsive services. It's been thrilling for us to welcome Peel Regional Police as on-site partners of a large partnership of 18 community service providers all living together at the SAFE Centre. We have many more off-site partners who also lean in, come together to do the work that we do. I remember the day when Deputy Chief came to see us and said, how come we're not living here? And it was like, well, you've never asked. So it was a wonderful moment in August during the pandemic, didn't stop us with our masks on, really working out what this would look like and how we could all come together. One of the things that I know to my bones is that we are only as strong as the relationships we have with one another. And I want to thank Minister Jones in particular. She's been a longtime friend of us at the Davis Centre and at the SAFE Centre of Peel. She knows us well. And I want to thank you personally, Minister Jones, your government, all of the ways that you have supported us in the work that we do. Certainly this infusion of funds is going to go a long way to help strengthen the relationships we have with one another. You know, when we live together, we change one another. And when we strengthen those relationships and really come together around care and compassion for our clients, service is better and we save lives. One of the things that I just want to convey, just very briefly, the meaning of these dollars to the women, the children, all of those that come to us at the SAFE Centre. Just give me a second, my mouth is a little dry. Imagine, having a call, having an officer come to your home, how disoriented, how scary it is, and to be able to come into a warm, welcoming environment where there's not just a Peel Regional Police officer there, and I want to point out, a specially trained, compassionate officer who gets it, to come into that office and to have a social worker there with her as well, to be with her, get her a cup of tea, sit with her while the officer does what the officer needs to do, is mind-blowing. I've been doing this work since 1987. This is a highlight of my career to be before you here today. I want to thank the chief for his leadership, the deputy, also, if I can be so bold, Lisa, on a first name basis, all of us working together to make a difference in our community. I am so confident that this infusion of dollars will save lives in this community. Thank you so very much, Minister. And thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much, Sharon, for being such a great partner and a champion for our community. On behalf of Peel Police and our Peel Police Services Board, I have Chair Chadha, Councillor Medeiros, thank you so much. We want to thank Inspector Hewison and the Intimate Partner Violence Unit and our SAFE Centre Peel partners. And on behalf of the survivors, Thank you all to my deputies, Deputy Chief Nick Mlinovich, Deputy Chief Mark Andrews, Deputy Chief Anthony O'Duarty, and Deputy Mark DePat, and every PRP member. And again, to our community partners, we are grateful for the work that we are collaborating on. And we look forward to achieving greater things here in this region in support of our community's safety and their well-being. Once again, Minister Jones, Mr. Sarkaria, thank you for choosing Peel Regional Police to make this important announcement today, and for your government's support of our community safety well-being priorities here in Peel. This brings the formal portion of our announcement to an end. We'll now take questions from the media, and I welcome the Minister back to the podium. Thank you very much.
All right, we will now begin the media portion of our event. As a friendly reminder, the format is one question and one follow-up. Our first question goes to Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV.
Hello, Minister. This is Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV. My question is, 21-year-old international student Karthik Vasudev was shot and killed recently. His parents are asking for justice. And this is not an isolated event here in Canada. Many such incidents happened in the past. And we have not forget Surajdeep Singh, who was killed here in Brampton's Park few years ago. And if I give the data, only in March, 15 international students' bodies were sent back to India. So what is your message to those parents who are sitting overseas watching you, what government is doing to protect these kids who come here in this country for higher studies, but these incidents are happening every day? Is crime very high here in Canada, and they feel Canada is not a safe country anymore? What you will say?
Yeah, well, first, I can only imagine the anguish that the family and his peers, students, fellow students are experiencing. It is an active investigation, so I will turn it over to the Chief of the Deputy.
Thank you, Mr. Chopra, and thank you, Minister. I'll speak briefly to the families who I think you're initially speaking to. We know it is a tremendous sacrifice to send a loved one overseas to a country where you can't see them, you can't physically support them, and you trust that this great country, which it certainly is, has the mechanisms in place to support individuals who can be vulnerable. And we want to first acknowledge that these are tragic circumstances in any regard. I think first message, Mr. Chopra, is, internationally, this is one of the greatest countries from a safety, security standpoint. That does not diminish that there are tragic circumstances. The first thing we want international communities to understand is this country thrives on the ability to avoid and to provide safety nets for people that are in vulnerable populations. But this country also has one of the best justice and systems possible, where we will assure those families that every potential resource will be utilized, as we do on a daily basis, to make sure that individuals that are victims will be sought. So I think the minister is correct. This investigation is ongoing, but it has a ripple effect in all communities, particularly here in Peel Region, where we have the highest number potentially of international students here, which is a great welcoming place to our community. So first thing is an element of assurance that we are as a collective in a policing circumstance investigating this fully. I want to just hand over to Deputy Mlinovich very quickly. We know we have a limited amount of time to speak as it pertains to the investigative aspect of that.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for the question, Ethan. What I would like to leave you with is, as a police service, absolutely, this is a tragic, horrible situation, and I would also like to extend my condolences to the family. But what I would leave you with is, as a police service, we are doing everything we can to prevent these incidents of violence. We are organizing ourselves in a way that address the root causes of that type of violence and those tragedies. And I want to reassure you, when we aren't able to prevent it, Peel Regional Police has among the highest solvency rates in the country. And so when we aren't able to prevent those tragedies, we hold people accountable. And we're going to continue to do that. Thank you.
Minister, follow-up is that very tough to bring the bail reforms here in Canada? Because when we see a police officer catching a criminal who has done repeatedly crimes many times, and we personally feel that police officers' morale goes down when you see criminal back on the roads again and again. Why our government cannot bring bail reforms as quickly as possible? Because that's required here in Canada. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that important question. And it is frustrating when the investigation happens, when good policing occurs and arrests are made. It is ultimately bail reform that is going to be led by our federal government. I can assure you, in conversations that I have regularly with my federal counterparts, whether that is with provincial territorial ministers, the federal minister of public safety, Marco Mancino, we have those conversations because we understand how critically important it is for people's comfort and safety in their community to know that when someone is arrested, apprehended, that they have the ability to be safe while the trial is ongoing. Those conversations will continue, and frankly, the ability for members of the public to stand up and say, this is important to me, this is important to my community, helps those discussions as we embark on them with our federal counterparts. Thank you.
Our second question goes to Sabrina Gamrot from Metroland.
Hi, thank you so much. So we know that for various reasons, some survivors will not go to police to report incidents of intimate partner or family violence. I've spoken with some organizations that deal with intimate partner violence or domestic abuse, including some here in Peel, who say because organizations like the Safe Centre of Peel are becoming more aligned with police, and even though officers have special training to deal with these survivors, will not seek out these partnerships based purely on lack of trust towards police. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, as it's pretty obvious here today, I am a huge believer in partnerships. I started my comments about how the Peel Regional Police officers are doing an excellent job, but they're doing it because they have partners in community on working on the ground. We need those partnerships. You will see that many of the grant programs that our government has put forward actually have a component that says, and you must seek out and work with a community agency organization, because we understand that when you have those partnerships, the fears, the concerns, the trepidation that some survivors may have dealing directly with only police are mitigated when there is a helping hand, if you may, with very specialized training and staff who understand the process. Often people have 100 different reasons why they don't want to report, and that's okay. But what we need to make sure is that they have all of the information they need to make those determinations. And that's why the community partnerships and relationships with the police is so critical. Thank you.
So thank you, Minister. Chief, the same question to you, if you don't mind.
Thank you. I actually, I have a quick thought, and I think probably an effective way to have your substantive question answered about, is there barriers by having us as a part of the partnership in the first place, from Ms. Maine Devine. But, I think if we all have to recognize that the way we as a policing system have integrated with our service providers has been in, them doing their collaborative work, but us operating in a silo. And if you think about how we've underserved the survivors historically, we recognize that this is a step forward in doing things better than it certainly was done before. And that's not to diminish that there are certainly stigmas and barriers that people or in the community may still have when they're dealing with the police. But I think first comment is that, and maybe quickly, Sharon, if you don't mind speaking to the real lived experience of the service providers in that context, might assist the origins of the question.
One of the critical principles for us at the Safe Center, and really all the work we've been doing. Look at this, I'm hanging off my earring. One of the critical principles has been choice, women having choice. So as I was saying earlier, the Safe Center has been around for 10 years. We at our agency have been working with women since the early 1980s. We know the importance of choice for women. So there are many ways that women come to us at the Safe Center. It might be through one of our partner agencies. She may learn about us on a website or at a Twitter post. And when she comes to us, she's given the choice to engage with police or not. We're very, very clear about that. So I really welcome that question because that's such an important point that I was remiss not to make earlier in my comments. So choice, 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 over and over again. Now, having said that, there are many times Peel Regional Police are called out and are involved. So we work together so that police response can be a very different response today than it was 5 years ago, than it was 15 years ago, than it was 20 years ago. So I think we would all agree that police is not what we want to have happening in our community, which is why our community safety well-being plan is so important for us to begin to work in the area of prevention, community education, so that women can reach out sooner before needing to call police to get the supports they need. I think it would be fair to say that all of us in this community want to see the calls to Peel Regional Police go down, because what that means is it means that we've been successful in our community safety well-being plan, so that police can do what police needs to do and what they do best, and that we in the community can do what we do best. And I think, with this announcement today, we're seeing some dollars flow through to the community to be able to respond, to ensure women have the choice they need to be able to get the help that they need. So thank you so much for that question.